Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deckin Around Community Corner. Today, we are really excited to have Kevan and Dave on. You may know Kevan as the Congress guy from Instagram, and Dave floats in many of the card circles on Facebook. Both Kevan and Dave are antique card collectors, and we're really excited to get a new look at the old world of playing cards. But before we jump into it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And ring the bell.
So, Kevan, Dave, how you guys doing today?
Good, thanks.
We're doing well, thank you. How have you guys been with this whole, pandemic going on and quarantine? Has life kind of been changed up for you, or are you doing pretty well, kind of status quo?
Well, my wife has a rare blood cancer, so it's an immune thing. So we've been really careful with her. We keep our circle pretty tight and masks and everything. And here in Indiana, they're doing pretty good with the masks, but we have to keep a pretty small group so far.
Yeah, that's smart for sure.
Yeah, definitely better to play it safe.
Yeah. I've been working, so essential worker. I've been on furlough once and quarantine once, not too long ago. So 3 guys at work got it, and I worked around them, but I ended up fine.
Well, that's good that you managed to not contract it. But yeah, it seems like there's always like ups and downs with a lot of this stuff going on here. So hopefully it's good to hear that you're both staying safe though, and that you're conscious of those around you with it. So, and Kevan, I just noticed too, are you wearing the Congress guy shirt right now?
Yes. Yeah.
I absolutely love
the convention last year. So
that is so awesome. I think
Does it have anything on the back?
Yeah.
Show them the back.
You can see it.
Oh, that is awesome. That is very cool. I love the whole Congress guy persona there.
Yeah, that's taken from an actual card I got, which I'll show off here in a little while.
Very nice.
Nice.
So now you guys, I would say, are probably I don't know. I think Steve and I, being in the more modern side of playing card collectors, we would consider you guys more of like a niche portion of the collector community, but I'm sure you guys also see a lot of the other sectors as, niche as well. What got you originally into collecting antique cards?
Well, I would. Sorry.
Dave's like, damn son. It was my damn son.
Yeah. Well, we got started just collecting different things. Back in the 80s, it was baseball cards. I didn't want to collect the new stuff. I wanted the 50s and the 60s. I gravitated toward coins after that, and then into comic books, and now into cards.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. 3 years ago, almost to the day now, he was getting into cards, and he asked me to go to the convention in Erlanger, Kentucky, and let's go check it out. And just before that, he had discovered that National Cards were here in Indianapolis originally. So he asked me, where's this address? Where's that factory at? And I've been doing genealogy for about 50 years and love history and everything. And so I pulled a couple old maps out, and sure enough, the address didn't exist in the Hawkman. They had actually listed the Cincinnati address instead of the Indianapolis address in the Hawkman. So that got me going, and I actually found where the factory was. And when I was in high school back in the 1900s, I actually passed and saw that old abandoned factory many times before it burned down. Some kids set it on fire as a joke one time and burned the place down. But so that got me digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And so Kevan said, we need to go to the convention because Judy Dawson is going to be there, and you can tell her all about it. And when we walked in and saw everything, and I love the history and the stories and everything, it was just got addicted from there.
Nice.
Yeah. It kind of has a tendency to pull you in pretty quick, huh?
Oh, yeah. There's so many. It's kind of like I used to collect comic books, and it's kind of like that. There's so many different ways you can go. You can either because you like the artist or you like DC or you like Marvel or whatever. Yeah. There's just so many ways to go, and so many people that share your interest in everything.
Yeah, which is so cool. And I know a lot of people we've talked to who are collectors and kind of usually gravitate towards that antique side of cards really are about the hunt or the story, you know, whereas I think modern collectors, it's so much easier to be like, ooh, I like that, let's get it. There's very rarely a hunt to find decks. I mean, there are some decks that are rare in the modern community, but I think in that antique community, everything that you're looking for is a hunt. You know, it keeps you interested. And Dave, like you said, you're really into the story and the history, and there's a wealth of story and history behind not only the decks themselves, but the factory and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I contribute a lot of stories to Clear the Decks, and
nice,
because I've dug into some of these stories and everything, and now I've started kind of a series there called Forgotten People, and it's people that's designed card backs that were actually an architect or something like that in his day, and he just did it a couple times and then moved on, and people have liked his designs and just forgot about him, don't know who he was.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of designers that happens to. I mean, even nowadays, right? You have designers that really come up with, you know, maybe they just want to do one deck or something. They come up with a really, really cool design. It does really well, and then you know, that's it. That's all they wanted to do.
Yeah, I did one recently. I'd stumbled across a Joker designed by this M.W. Millward, and ended up finding out that was Margaret Millward, and that she was probably the first woman to ever design a Joker.
That is so cool.
Have it patented back in the 1890s.
That's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
And so with your collection of antique cards, I know we mentioned briefly that, you know, it was around a convention that kind of tied you into it, Dave. But Kevan, what got you really into the community aspect of it?
Well, I can go back a little bit to when I first started collecting. In 2005, we'd go to casinos around Indiana, and I just pick up a deck of cards. You know, you go to the gift shop, they're $1. Go back, play some poker with them or whatever. And in 2011, I had a little family and friends poker club. They'd come over and we'd play poker all the time. So I won an old deck. Let's have some fun with this. And went on eBay, and I found this one here. It's a BP French deck from. I found out later it was from the 1910s. And when I opened it,
love that gilding.
It's never been used. You know, it's just never been used.
Grimaud makes beautiful decks too.
Yeah. I can't play with this deck. There's no way. So I went back to eBay. Went right back. I think this was like $30 back in 2011. Yeah. So next thing I know, that's when I discovered Congress. I discovered Liberty. Yeah. Discovered that one. You know, telescoping box. Slides right out, 2 pieces. Cards aren't the best shape, but they're playable. And, you know, we used it a couple times, and I think that's where I really got started. And then that's where he was like, hey, maybe there's something to this, you know, I'll start buying some. So instead of him getting me onto old things, I got him onto them. So we kind of put the script a little bit there.
Yeah. Very now, cool. do you guys play a lot of card games? Incorporate, you know, the cards that you pick up, or do you kind of look for cards that you can play with? You know, do you buy, 2 decks so you can kind of keep one up on the shelf and then one that you can play with? I know we do that for a lot of modern ones, you know, a lot of collecting people buy 2 or 3 of them. You guys do that for those old antique ones? I mean, I would assume it'd be a lot more difficult to do because, like Tyler says, it's a big hunt for a lot of them. Yeah.
They're very hard to find 2 of anything.
Right.
Some of them are fairly common. People they'll find them and sell them, but I try to stay away from the duplicates just because I'm trying to collect every Congress deck from 1881 to 1929. I have a few duplicates. a lot of them kind of stick together, but if you work them in a little bit, we used one last month from the early 1900s, and they clumped together a little bit. But after that, I mean, we went 4 or 5 hours with them.
That's crazy.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I don't recommend that with all my decks.
Now, you said you're trying to.
Valuable.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you said that you're trying to collect, all of them. Now, how do you know? Is there a main list that you can look at, or is that something that you have to put together yourself? And how many decks do you have towards that goal?
Kevan got me started on that because I'm retired, so I was able to do a lot of research and stuff. So we actually built a list of about 345 decks.
Wow.
I did it from sources of patents, copyrights, old American Stationer, Geyer magazine, photos, kind of like that.
Oh, wow.
Anything where we could actually have proof of the year that it was copyrighted or patented.
Nice.
And we only have, I think, now we're down to only about 6 decks during that time period that we cannot prove the exact date when they came out. But
okay,
that's on his Congress-backed website. That is just pretty basic, but anybody can go there. You could match up a card back, see what the name is, look at the alphabetical or numerical list, and actually see when it came out.
That's cool. Super cool. Now, what does someone do if they find a Congress deck that isn't on the Congress guy's list?
Prove to us it's before 1930, and we'll put it on there. We've had some people, give us an email, stuff like that, that's got some kind of rare deck or a different version of a card back, and we'll add it to the list.
Nice. Very cool. Do you guys try to acquire it, or
Kevan does? He's the Congress guy, so.
What guy are you, Dave? Are you a Congress guy, or are you a?
No, I'm a national guy.
Nice.
And but I kind of branch out into other cards that have some kind of story or history to them, whether they're valuable or not. And I've got several examples here that I'll show you and everything. But I'm into the stories and the history.
Very cool.
Do you guys have fights kind of like the Canon and the Nikon guys? Like basically, no, Nikon's better. No, Canon's better. Do you guys go back and forth with Congress and National?
Nah.
We'll leave that to other people.
There you go.
Right on.
It seems like you've definitely got a good team dynamic to kind of try and build not only the list, but the collection of both sets. So it's really cool to see you guys bringing this together as kind of a family hobby.
Yeah. I like how they both have 2 different shirts. One has Congress shirt, one has a National shirt. Yeah. It's so cool.
You definitely don't mix them up, which is good. Yeah, no, without a doubt. And so, cool. What's one of the things I guess that I know you both said you'd been to earlier. Have you guys had communication with USPCC about some of these old decks, trying to reach out to them for any information, or even seeing if they know of any decks that you may not have on your list?
I think Kevan has.
Yeah.
I've reached out a couple of times, try to find out production numbers, how many years some of these were printed, and they don't give up that information. And sometimes they don't even have records that even go back that far. I've even asked about the Jerry's Nugget, the original OG, and they said we don't have records that go back that far.
Which isn't surprising, but yeah, that's. I mean, because you figure that's only about 50 years ago, and
1970.
Yeah, so that's not surprising, but also you'd think that a business lasting this long would have something from back then. So very interesting. And
Yeah,
so
Now they do have a museum and an archive somewhere. One of the group members, Steve Bowling, who's a historian with USPCC, said that back in the maybe 20, 30 years ago, it was not guarded. It was just anybody could walk through, and people were just taking single cards out of World War I decks that had never seen the light of day outside of the warehouses. And it's kind of a shame.
that really is. And especially because now it limits the amount of people who can end up seeing all that stuff. I think one of the cool things about these decks is the history behind it, and the fact that the era that they were printed in had so much impact on what was printed.
Yeah. Now there is. I was going to tell the Cornerstone story. USPC's factory that they're tearing down now, the Cornerstone may still be there from 1899.
Oh, wow.
And I have a newspaper article that lists the items that are in there, which are card samples, sales lists, and things like that. So if they locate it and open it, that would be a tremendous find.
Absolutely. That would be really interesting to see, and I'm sure it could probably maybe even add a deck or two to your list if the sales list at the time has something you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And so, are there any decks that you know about but just haven't actually been able to find one in existence, or one that is in a private collection somewhere?
There's a lot we keep finding. Lee Asher turned me on to a Harry Keller deck from like 1908, the famous magician. And he would, they were just throwaway cards. He'd give them to audience members or whatever, and sent me on to this magic auction site, and it was on there, and I'm like, this is pretty interesting, and we can add this to the list now. And it sold for $1,800.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's one I'll probably be the last one to add to my collection.
Understandably so. That's something. I mean, I'm sure, and that's the thing too. It's amazing that so many of these decks hold up over time. But I'm sure for everyone that's out there, there's probably 10 that were destroyed or thrown away or whatever, and will never see the light of day again. So it must be hard to find some of them.
Now, the deck I would like to find is, I wrote an article in the last issue about the first two transformation decks, and
Nice.
Carol's transformation deck. I found out that the hand-drawn deck that he had when he first did it, he gave to a friend of his, another Wall Street broker and lawyer, and that guy ended up dying not too long afterwards, and he left everything to his widowed mother. And apparently the original transformation deck went to her.
Wow.
And I haven't been able to track down any descendants. I've tracked down descendants of Samuel J. Murray. You might be familiar with him, who was the mechanical brains with Victor Mauger and USPC and National and everything. And I'm in contact with his great grandson, who had a lot of his personal effects and everything. And also Auguste Crucius, who was his partner, and apparently may have designed the air cushion cards for USPC, because his granddaughter said, or his great granddaughter told me, that his nickname was Air Cushion Crucius.
Oh, wow.
I have not been able to find any proof or a patent or anything of their air cushion process yet. But I was hoping to make some good USPC contacts at the convention this year to see if anything like that existed. But I thought that was some pretty good information.
That's really, I mean, even if it doesn't end up being substantiated, that's a pretty interesting story too. And that's a heck of a nickname.
Yeah.
Air cushion. We got to think of a cool name for you and I, Tyler.
I don't know about that. If we come up with some sort of new air cushioning, maybe. But I think I think it's interesting to see though too that like so much of this information is, partially in the public domain. I mean, patents are available for everyone. It's just a matter of searching through so many documents to find the information you look for. But like you said, you're into genealogy, Dave. I'm sure it's very similar, that kind of research process, starting out with, specific maybe keywords or whatever you're looking for and kind of narrowing it down until you find the information you're eventually looking for.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I use a lot of genealogy references to get started on people that I'm looking for, and some clues to where they were, what they were doing, and stuff like that. But yeah, I kind of wear out the internet since I don't have a whole lot of anything else to do. But
nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Dude, it sounds like the cool thing is, I think we all wear out the internet. Just some of us on things that are, a little more healthier than others. I could wear out YouTube for 7 hours if I sit in front of my computer. I think yours is a little more educational.
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
Mine kills brain cells. Yours kind of enriches them.
Yeah, I had to use his genealogy skills from a deck I bought a few years ago. I'll go ahead and show. This is called Priscilla, from around 1900 to 1906. I'll go ahead and turn it around here so you can see the front of the box. So I got this on eBay from a guy in Missouri, and this is, I can figure out my camera.
Oh, cool.
So this handwritten note was in there. Now that says 1906, but that 6, they flaked off when I opened the box, so it lost it.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
And it says Priscilla at her wheel to Clara M. Robertson from Uncle John, Rochester, June 21st, 1906. South Berwick, Maine, January 23, 1823. So I sent this information to him after we could translate most of it, because the cursives were hard to read.
Yeah.
And 4 hours later, he came back with who she was and who he was, who they married, where they lived and died.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
It's fast.
And
I had to get on eBay. I said, "Do you know anything about this note?" He goes, "No." He goes, "I never opened it." He goes, "My brother or friend bought it at a yard sale in Kansas City, and I'm just selling it for him." He was even in there.
That's crazy.
So those little things that you find people in the past, and it's like this could have been not a graduation present, an engagement present, because they were married a year later. Claire and her husband. Gould. He was in real estate. And she was a school teacher.
That's so cool.
That's so cool.
and these cards are, I don't know if they've ever even used them.
Yeah. But, they look pretty fresh for an old deck.
And they have the matching joker. And this, as a Congress collector, this is what you want. You want the jokers that match the card.
Right.
Just black and white photo.
Nice.
And those are the ones that command higher prices.
Nice. Right. Now, how much does a deck like that go for?
This one on its face, according to the Hockman Value Guide, is $175 to $200.
Oh, wow.
You need nowhere near that. Nowhere near, maybe 40 or 50.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people on eBay that sell it that aren't true collectors don't know the value they have.
Yeah.
Right.
And they jump on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I will do that. I want to get the value I can, because you may never see them again. And
yeah, I think that's the benefit of. I mean, I guess there's a good and bad to not being able to find a price for something. Like in the modern, the collection kind of world, it's pretty easy to find what something's worth. You look on eBay, just see what they sold for recently, and then you can kind of gauge what it'll work. What its value is. But with the older decks, most people don't even know how to search for it. They might look on the back and it might say Congress deck, 17 whatever. Yeah, I don't know how they're labeled on the back of the box, but it's pretty difficult to find those on eBay or online at all. Most people probably don't know about the guide, so you're probably going to run into a good chance of getting a good deal. But I'm sure there's the other side where people know it's really old and then they're just going to throw a price on it just because they think that's what it's worth.
Yeah, you see that with certain sellers on eBay. They have steamboat decks that are just like this, in a little bit worse condition, and he calls it Holy Grail, and he wants $5,000 for it.
Yeah, exactly.
He responded. He didn't like me.
Like throwing a deck for 50 cents.
He had an Andrew Doherty deck from the mid-60s that he wanted $100,000 for, and that somehow that deck is copyrighted, and I have no clue how it was even copyrighted.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not on eBay anymore, so I don't know if he just took it off or what, but I know he didn't get that much money for it because Jason McKinnon said, "I got 3 of these or whatever," and he goes, "I'll take $100,000 each for them."
Yeah,
and they're way better condition.
I'll take $50,000 each.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder about those listings that just have exorbitant prices, and really like no one's paying that for those decks of cards, because I think once you start to get into that price point, which is so overinflated, people are going to do their research and find out what it's actually worth before they're just going to blindly be like, oh yeah, $5,000, I'll do it. Like people want to know what they're paying for at that point. And I can't imagine what the game is with that whole eBay listing, but it seems suspect to me.
Yeah.
He's something
else.
And on the other hand, the Hawkman's always a good reference, even though it's kind of dated. Like you said, you research it and everything on eBay, but working on a story about a card company that was here in Indiana around 1920 for a couple years called Telbacks. They had a deck called Suns Up, and you look in the Hawkman and it's only about $100. Well, I went looking for pictures of it, and the only deck I could find after weeks of searching and everything is actually in a museum at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And the research lady there was nice enough. She went and used her phone and actually took pictures of the cards and the deck and the box and everything for me for my article. But it's an extremely rare deck. But you go to the Hawkman and say, "Oh, okay, it's $100." But on the other side, try to find one.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, it's so interesting to see too, and I think this is one of the things that I always love about playing cards is they really are, such an integrated part of history. To hear that it's in a museum, like that's exciting. Like, granted, Las Vegas, Nevada, if they didn't have playing cards in a museum there, I'd be concerned, because I think playing cards are probably one of the foundational elements of gambling. But at the same time, like playing cards are such a foundational element of the American family.
Traveling, right?
Everything. Like it's so an integrated part of our culture. And I think it's one of those things that until people dive into the community of collecting, you don't really give playing cards much thought, and I think it's always unique to see, especially for the two of you collecting such antique cards, to really dive into not just the history of the cards, but the history surrounding the cards. It's just so amazing. Like, it must be so rewarding also to really get to that point where you said, okay, I have this deck of cards, or with the note, finding out all this information about the people surrounding the note on that Congress deck. Like, it makes, I think, so much more of a bond with the cards, more so than, any guide could put a value to it. It almost creates I'm like literally blanking on the word now, but why am I blanking?
Nostalgia?
Not nostalgia, but like a sentimental value to it, even though the story around it may not be directly involving you. It's a story that you're now a part of, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, it's funny because I see that a lot, because I love, I used to go to used bookstores a lot. And there's one book that I really, really love. It's called The Prophet. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. It's by Khalil Gibran. Amazing book.
I've got a copy.
I think everybody should have a copy on their nightstand. But it's such a beautiful book. And I just, when I go to used bookstores and they have them, I buy them and then I hand them out to people, friends that I meet or stuff like that, and just say, pass it on when you're done, But it's really cool because when you open up these books, you see basically things like, you see with Priscilla, you see stories and little things that people write in them and the years. and it just kind of makes you think like, oh, what was that person going through in their life that they felt like they wanted to share it, and it. A lot of people might look at it and be like, oh, damn, it has writing in the book, or it has writing on the cards, so it's worth less. But I think that just makes the story that much better for me. I think that's cool.
Yeah, that's like I picked up this deck right here during the last convention, addressed to this guy in Massachusetts, and it's
nice.
a Heart of Port. It's a Heart of Port deck. It's the Heart of Port deck.
Nice.
And so the strange thing was, it was still in the box that was mailed to the guy, because that those cards didn't have a regular box or anything. So I looked him up when I got home, and the first thing I noticed was the stamp was only used between 1890 and 1892, and I knew the cards were from about 1891. And then digging into the genealogy, I found out that the guy was 87 years old, and he died on June 1st, 1891. So apparently he died about the time he got the cards.
Oh, wow.
And since he had to smoke a lot of tobacco to get the inserts and the coupons to send in for the deck, it kind of makes you wonder, what did he die of?
Right.
But
it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully the deck's not cursed.
No, but it's in pristine shape. It's a beautiful deck.
Cool. Yeah. Now, how many decks do you have, Dave, and how many decks do you have, Kevan?
My collection is not real big. I'd say, because I've got a lot of singles, transformation card singles, tobacco. I did a lot of tobacco insert cards and stuff, like Kenny Brothers,
Oh, cool.
their cards,
Nice.
and things. I'm probably at around 75 to 100, probably.
Nice.
I'm not a real huge collection, because I also do some memorabilia. I've got leather postcards that are poker themed and everything, but
Oh,
of
cool.
course I had to track down who the people were that sent the cards and who they sent them to. So
That's so cool.
I've done that, and then I've got some stock certificates, old stock certificates, national card, of course. But here lately, I just picked up a couple of these. They're from Morocco back playing cards.
Oh, wow.
And the thing was that in 1920 and 21, they're from Reno, Nevada, and Reno was having a deck shortage. They were running out of cards out west.
Wow.
So these business guys in Reno started this Morocco back playing card company.
Interesting.
They was able to sell stock for over $100,000, and they got the money, and there was never a single deck produced.
Oh,
wow. I know all about the people that formed the company. I know about the guy. There's one certificate signed by this guy that he spent $6,000 in 1920 to buy stock in the company, and he never saw a penny. But
wow, that's crazy.
Newspapers and everything else, and apparently they just did it and then walked away from it. And I can't find where anything happened to the people after the company folded. It only lasted 1 year selling stock. So,
that's crazy. Sounds like a scam to me.
Yeah.
We see those on Kickstarter. Those are called Kickstarter now.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that was.
I actually have an old deck. I'm gonna grab it. See if you guys know it.
That is that's crazy though. And yeah, the amount of money, like that's almost like it looks like it's almost about $70,000 invested in today's like money. Like that's not an insignificant amount of money to invest in something that ended up being a scam. Oof.
Yeah, he was, and that
crazy,
guy was
right?
just that guy was actually just an auto mechanic. He had made some money and being a gold miner, and then he was an auto mechanic, and he eventually moved on from Reno and went to San Diego. But
I think I would have left Reno after that as well.
Yeah. Right. Yeah,
well, that
I
guy,
actually. Go ahead.
Yeah, that guy actually got out of the automotive business and went to work for some rather shady clubs in San Diego before he died too. So.
it sounded like his little cod business was a scam for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Dave, I'm gonna have to hire you to do some genealogy on me, on my family. I kind of couldn't find anything after 1892.
Yeah, just get a hold of me and give me some information.
He'll come back telling me who my great grandfather was.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of good stories. I've tracked ours back into the early 1700s directly, but
that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I've got 20,000 people in my family program. So you could be a cousin. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I couldn't go any further back than, like I said, just under 1900s, because I'm Jewish, and everybody who was Jewish back then changed their names like 100 billion times, so it's hard to keep track of them.
Yeah.
Here's I mean, I'm sure. Hey, you sound like you're proficient in that. I'm not, so I'll leave that stuff up to you. I'll look something up in 5 minutes. I'll be like, I can't find it. I'm done.
Oh man.
Here's a nice old deck that you guys might appreciate. You can't really take this out very often because most people could care less about it. So this is a deck I actually found at a flea market.
Oh, I just finished a story about Kalamazoo playing card that I'm getting ready to send in.
Yeah,
yeah. That guy was
this ace is this is the very first ace that this company put out, I guess. I did research on the deck too.
Yeah, you'll normally see a picture of Samuel N. Barker on the ace.
Really?
Yeah. That was before he disappeared with another woman and went and left the country.
You crack me up, Dave.
No, it's true. You'll have to get that issue.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, it's part of the Dreamers set. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Super old. Look at that. I don't know if it looks like it was gilded, but the corners weren't or something. Yeah. Let me see if I can. There you go. Is that weird?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it looked like maybe some of the edges have been rubbed off. It's hard
Yeah,
to
but
tell.
it looks like just like the corners weren't gilded, but everything else was. I mean, it's too consistent, like throughout the deck, to think that something happened that it rubbed off. Wait, there we go. Let's see if we can focus. I mean, anyway, you can see the marks are perfect all the way around, except the corners. So I'm thinking that pot may have been
could also just been used in a lot of finger oil over time from shuffling and things like that, because you figure those are also the shuffle points where you'd be putting your thumb to like bridge out the cards and everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have no idea. The oldest deck of cards I have is from like 1999. So
no, you have 1993, don't you?
Do I? What do
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
bro.
I do. I have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1993. There you go. That is my oldest deck of cards right now. So
I think this is 1909. I think
that's crazy.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, 1909. I think it was.
I think it says so much too about the fact that cards can actually survive so long, and in some of them in phenomenal condition still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So now, Kevin, I'm good. I was gonna change to a different topic. Go ahead. So what are you gonna say there?
No, I was gonna answer. I have somewhere between 250 and 300 decks.
Oh, nice.
Some are modern. I'll go to the store and pick some up if I want something for poker night, or just anything that looks kind of neat. But antique, probably half that number. I'm sitting at 89 different Congress backs out of, I think, 350, 360, whatever the number is.
All right.
So I got a long way to go. But you're talking about pristine decks, and I know you guys have seen my George Washington and youth decks.
Yeah.
Like the sealed ones.
That's phenomenal.
Nice. That's so cool.
That's so amazing. Yeah.
We saw you post those recently.
Yeah, I picked those up in Cleveland at the convention. This one in auction, and the other one from our friend Scott Cruz, Card Nerd on Instagram.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Now,
like,
do you go to a lot of like antique shops? Do you go to what are they called?
Garage sales?
No.
Estate sales.
Estate sales, yeah.
Yeah.
You go to estate sales? I'm sure you find a ton of them there.
I haven't been to maybe one estate sale, but as far as antique stores around here, they mostly have just 30, 40-year-old cards. I did find one in Las Vegas, south of the Strip, a real big one, and asked them, I said, have you seen any cards that look like this? And they said, yeah, there was a guy come in and bought a whole bunch of them, and he's got a shop it was down near where the Pawn Stars are downtown, but ran out of time when we were in Vegas and didn't get to make it there. They didn't know the name of the store, but they gave me the general area. So the next time I'm out there, I'm going to go check it out.
Nice. Might find some fun decks out there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Most of the decks you see there are the old casino decks that they probably just like picked up at the casino for 50 cents and they're selling them for like $3-4.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they have every once in a while the good ones.
Yeah, there's a store called Spinetti's. It's just a little north of the Stratosphere, and they have thousands and thousands of cards.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they had a couple of 2-deck Congress sets there. I didn't pick them up; they weren't old enough, but they were probably from the late 70s, early 80s. They had a couple of them there.
And so now Congress, they still print Congress decks till like up until today, correct?
Yeah, you can still find them. I think they're printed over in Spain now.
Okay.
But as far as in the U.S., I want to say they stopped in the early 80s.
Okay. Yeah, because I've seen a couple when I go to like the bicycle playing card site where they have like, I think like Tulip is one of them or something like that. And it would be like, all right, cool, like still modern Congress decks, but obviously falling outside of the realm of what you're looking for because of that time frame.
Yeah. Around 922, they went when Bridge became real popular. It replaced Whist, which they had the 606W decks. They started getting more narrow, and once about 1922 hit, it was all narrow all the time. And then in the late 30s, a Cellutone finish came out, which they can't use anymore. Kind of like the same finish on the Jerry's Nugget. It's environmentally unfriendly.
Yeah.
It was all 2-deck bridge sets from pretty much from there on out.
Okay, interesting.
Asta and Samba and other games like that.
All right. Very interesting.
If you find a wide size Congress deck, it's older than 1922.
Oh, cool. I'll keep my eyes out for all the flea markets and everything if I ever go to them, or estate sales, and I'll keep my eyes peeled for you guys. National and Congress decks. Yeah,
but you got to watch out for the really old ones, which I always love showing this one off. This is the one from 1885, my Lighthouse deck.
It looks like a passport. It looks like
it does look like a passport, yeah.
Yeah, extremely rare. I had a friend of mine said that there was 16 in the world that were sold in the last 10 years.
That's such a gorgeous looking deck too, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the Japanese style lacquer backs, gold ink on dark images.
That is so cool.
Yeah, see, that's the crazy thing is, like, a lot of Congress decks are, that's so cool. A lot of Congress decks are, they're not full bleed, no border decks, right? They're usually kind of like a frame painting, kind of. They kind of remind me of like a frame painting in a way.
Yeah. And a lot of them are based on artwork.
Right. And that one kind of looks different to me. It looks more of something you would see today-ish,
I love this one. I've seen you post on this one online.
So
yeah,
good, yeah.
The bear with the honey.
Yeah,
so good.
Pinochle deck. Yeah,
that is so cool.
That's so cool.
And what year was this one from?
Oh, wow.
1891 to 94.
Okay.
Really? And it said mint condition gilded, eh?
United States Printing Company, which came after Russell and Morgan and before United States Playing Card Company. They were still transitioning over.
Okay, interesting. Wow. And so out of the decks you've collected, which one to you, I don't want to say which is the most valuable, but which means the most to you?
That would be the Statue of Liberty deck, the first one.
Okay.
It's what got me started down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite ones though was the other one with the Japanese lady.
That is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Same time period.
Yeah.
1994.
Yeah.
So I like that one. So and then this is the one that has the Ace of Spades on my back there, Berenice.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Artist was Falero. He did a lot of nude art and other things like that. But
okay.
Fashion series, so they even had the name on the back, and even the edges.
It's so funny that the fact that so many people nowadays are like gilding all their decks, but every deck back then was gilded.
Not all
they've
of
been
them.
doing it for. They've been doing. I mean, not all, but like a lot of decks. A lot of the old decks that I find are gilded.
Yeah. Bicycle did it on their extra bicycle, because it was more the top of the line, and that's how Congress was marketed. They sold them for 50 cents a deck back around 1900, which is about $16 today. And bicycle was sold for half that, but they were marketed toward society.
Yeah.
You couldn't be average Joe making 22 cents an hour, 59 hours a week, and go out and buy a Congress deck. You were buying steamboats for 3 cents a pack.
Yeah.
And a lot of their advertisements, and I'll kind of show this one here. This was United States Printing Company. So this was also 1891 to 94 when this ad came out.
Right.
And, it shows the gentleman, doesn't show average Joe working in a factory.
Yeah.
Or I'll try to hold it back a little bit. Some more ads showing all the different cards. And this is another way of how we date most of the cards.
Okay.
So,
That's
they were
cool.
And they say, for society and things like that.
Interesting.
So they were started out as the top of the line, 1881. You had Tigers 101, which was, they're, even in halfway decent condition, they go for $500 a deck. You had Sportsman's 202, Army 303, Congress 404, which was the plain edges. They didn't last very long. If you can find one of those, you can pay double what you would for a 606.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'll kind of show this one. Storm. This was 1900. Now, there is a 404, and the guy I traded with has one, but the dog in that one is missing.
Interesting.
That's the key. And when you look at the old boxes, like my Lighthouse, 606 are good, and 404s are silver.
Okay.
The way you can
There's so many different things you have to know about them to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really so cool, though.
Yeah, that's cool.
It takes a while to dig some of that stuff up because there's not a lot of information out there. So you find private collectors, 50 plus Joker members, your own research, and you piece it together, and we try to get it out there to everybody.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. Well, I got this one circa 2016, 2017, maybe.
Yeah.
So, Dave, and what's your being a national collector? What's the deck that has the most meaning to you?
Yeah. As far as national, I won this in the auction last year. It's a Crescent 44.
Okay.
But it was described in the auction. I've got the slip box. I've got the box. I've got the wrapper.
Nice.
And it was described as the most perfect deck that they had seen.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I like that ace of
It's
spades.
it's an ungilded deck,
That's
but it's
cool.
it's like the box had never been opened.
That's crazy.
And I
Yeah.
paid, I paid over book for it, but it was
A little
such a special deck. But one deck that means a lot to me is probably my cheapest deck. I got this from a lady. I think you can see it. It's a 1944 deck, but I don't know if you can
Nice.
see her name on it or not. Anna Ray Tong. And the special thing about the deck is that her and her family were English missionaries in the Philippines when the war broke out, and they were all put in a POW camp. And she was only 8 years old.
So crazy.
And they were liberated in 45 and put on board a ship to San Francisco. And she was given that deck by some U.S. Coast Guardmen that were on the ship.
Oh, wow.
And her sister was sick, and she was treated by one of the pharmacists. And his his name was Byron Barr. He was a pharmacist mate on the ship. Well, the thing was, right after the war, he went back to his old job, and I don't know if you can see his picture. He was really Gig Young, the actor. And he went back to being a Hollywood star after the war. And
that's great.
cool.
That's so cool.
Her brother actually wrote a book about their time in the POW camp and everything.
Wow.
But when I got them from her, I told her that I'd never sell them. I'd just pass them on. But
Nice.
It's really cool.
she even got to meet the POW camp commander in the 50s later on, and they became friends. But,
Wow.
That's so cool.
And then the other deck that got me into researching too was I've got this airmail stamp. It was a first day cancellation, and this guy put the stamp on a bunch of cards. Actually, it was 4 decks, and had them airmailed back to him in San Francisco or in San Diego. And when I got the card, the guy that had a number of them said that it was Boeing that did this, and he passed these cards out to all his directors. Well, there is an address on the card. Okay, 3517 Indiana Avenue in San Diego. So I looked it up, to see if Boeing lived there or something. No, it was a stamp collector, and his name was Don Mark Lemons, and he was also a science fiction writer during the 30s and 40s, and he's the one that sent the decks out. It was only Boeing's planes that ran the airmail route at that time. That was their first airmail route, number 8 in California. And
wow.
So that's the only thing it had to do with Boeing. But I have proved that there are 4 decks that were used, but this one is this one's from the oldest deck. It's an Andrew Doherty Pilot number 5 from 1895. He only used one of those decks, and the other decks were from the 20s. So
that's really
they
cool.
go from, I've seen them go from anywhere from $60 to $300 on eBay.
Wow.
Of course, the Jokers are pretty pricey. There's a guy in Texas that sells them. He's got 2, but nobody will bite for the $1,000 he wants for each of them.
Jeez.
But
I'll sell you this Joker.
That was the guy actually mailed a lot of different things to himself with those stamps. So,
that's
cool.
That's crazy. I love that. I love that history behind it, though. I really like. Yeah. I hope that playing cards continue to develop history around them. And I think in this day and age, so many decks are coming out that a lot will probably be lost to time. But I do hope that there are some that, survive time, and in 100 years people are still looking for whatever deck. Hopefully in 100 years people are still looking for Congress decks. I think that would be phenomenal. But it'll be interesting to see which modern decks kind of stand the test of time and people are still interested in.
Yeah, I wondered that myself, because I try to keep up with that community, but it's really hard. There's
a lot.
Yeah, I've only got one. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was
Dave,
that was a big discussion at our last convention. Old versus modern, and several. Yeah, some people said I'll never ever buy a modern deck, but I've only got one modern deck, and I picked that up from Lautrec at the convention, the golden blue.
So that's a brilliant modern deck to own. If you were ever own one modern deck, that's the one to own.
I figured that was. I figured that. Yeah, I figured that might be a good one to. Yeah,
absolutely.
Good one to hold, especially since he gave it to him. I bought it right from Lautrec because Kevan did an live interview with him at the convention.
He's a phenomenal guy, and honestly, I mean, if there was ever a modern artist to support,
Kevin's also got he's got a number of different Congress items that are pretty cool.
Yeah. So, Kevan, what's your favorite non-deck Congress item?
Yeah.
Non-Congress. What you got?
So it can be Congress related, but non-playing. So was it so it's something that isn't a deck of cards, but may still be related to Congress?
No, come on, make it more difficult for him. What's your deck outside of Congress?
Okay.
Well,
Dave pulled out. Your dad pulled out the Lautrec Oath deck. What do you got?
Well, I've got an Arabesque Players Edition that he signed for me when he gave to me after the interview.
Yeah.
Nice. Another Lautrec.
That's a solid. Lautrec's the man to follow in the modern age. So
that guy, you know what? Yeah, exactly. He has that Congress feel to him.
Just such a gorgeous deck. Yeah.
Kind of hard to see, but it's there.
Yeah, we can see it.
I got a picture of him signing it. So
cool.
At about 1:00 in the morning.
Well, he doesn't sleep, so he doesn't sleep.
Nothing. He doesn't sleep.
Just by the printer, right?
Yeah. He barely does that too. Yeah. He's always awake.
I mean, this is kind of related, but this is my salesman sample folder.
That is really cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it says considered adoption for export by export committee 5/20/05. So that's 1905. Decided to use my paper folder for the present. I'm not quite sure what that meant. And you open it up.
Oh,
that is so cool.
It's I can't get it all in the frame here. It's 6 feet long and double-sided.
That is amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I'm missing, we think 20 cards. I'll come in tight a little bit.
Dude, that's so cool.
The problem with finding these is once I figure out how to use my camera, as you see on the side there's 606 Congress, and it's got the name on it. Those sample cards are extremely, extremely hard to find.
Yeah.
I'll find the deck before I find the card.
Right.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I got this from a guy in a Facebook group from the Netherlands. It was over there. And he was looking for a European deck. I'm like, well, I got a double European deck, but I kind of promised him to one guy. And he's like, well, who was it? And he's like, oh, that's my friend. We live right down the street. So we worked kind of a three-way deal. I traded the double deck for this, and then he sold one to him.
Nice.
And it took about a week of negotiation to do that.
That's too crazy. That's cool.
Yeah. And Judy Dawson says she has seen one like this. She believes she's seen one like this. And this may be the only one or two in existence like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
It's very valuable if completed.
Yeah.
We think we know we need to complete it.
That's cool.
So one question I do have for you guys, for anyone who's out there considering getting into collecting antique cards, What's one piece of advice you could kind of give someone who's newly fascinated by these antique cards, either whether it be, how to find them or what they should keep an eye out for or what they should be wary of even?
You want to start that one?
I'd say just look around first, see what interests you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would pick up the Hockman.
Look around first, see what interests you, then do a little research. Oh yeah, Hockman.
Yeah, and make friends with antique collectors. They can. Yeah. You have Jason McKinstry on Instagram, myself, Card Nerd Scott Cruz, Joe Pearson, Pip Nosher.
Yep.
Yeah, Joe's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of those guys, and even Lee Asher. Yeah. And the directory in 52 Plus Joker, the member directory, you can find a lot of these people and just email them, and most of them will answer back.
Yeah, we actually did a cool little interview with Jason, and just looking behind him at all his cool cards he has. Crazy. So cool. That guy's a book of knowledge. That's for sure. Cool.
Yeah, his little like office where we filmed with him literally is like a mini card museum. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I was actually talking to him not too long ago. Let me find the sample. It's called Easter Lake. I posted it, but I've since traded it. Where is it? It's a neat little design. And where is it? This folder's way too big. Way too big. Wood. I'll find it here in a second. But I showed it to him. He goes, "That looks an awful like a doorknob I have." I'm like, "What are you talking about, a doorknob?" I said, here it is. So the ones on the bottom there.
Nice.
Those are so cool looking.
Yeah. So he sent me pictures, and he's actually has East Lake door parts in his house. They're doorknobs and
of course he does.
Doors from the 1900s.
That's crazy. That's so cool.
Cards off of this, I had no idea.
Yeah.
He's like, "Do you still have it?" But no, I traded it away to another collector, and he's like, "You got to get another one." So, I'll work on it.
That is too funny.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Doorknobs influence playing cards. Who knew?
Dude, everything does. Cement does, metal, like everything does. Let's be honest. There's poop decks out there, buddy.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Oh yeah. And the bicycle emoji deck. Yeah. My daughter.
There's a lot of things that inspire decks.
Yeah. Well, we
for sure.
In Cleveland the first time I met Lautrec. He did a talk, and he was walking in New York just past an old wrought iron storm door, and he showed his process after breaking it down using different parts in it, how he created a card back for it.
It's so cool.
Wrought iron storm door.
Yeah.
At random. Yeah. He got inspiration, and he worked on it because the perfectionist that he is. He made it his own, and I'm not sure what deck that was, but it was neat to listen to his process. And I had never heard of him at that point.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He really is a artist's artist. Like, he goes through the process. His creative mind is just, I don't know, he blows my mind. He's phenomenal. So
that's for sure.
Not surprised he could pull inspiration like that from anywhere.
Yeah. That's so true.
And so,
guys,
go ahead. I was going to say, one thing we want to touch on too is how can people reach out to you? What's the best way to reach out to you guys if they're curious about Congress decks, national decks, or just the process in general?
For me, it would be Instagram.
Right.
You can find me. I'm approaching 700 followers, which to me is amazing. I had 200 just starting this year.
Nice.
Apparently, I'm making some kind of an impact and some kind of generating some kind of interest. So, and I'm on several Facebook groups as well.
Okay.
Sweet.
And we'll link down to your Instagram below in the description as well.
Yep. What about you, Dave?
Right now, I just have the national. I just have the national website going where I've got basically all things national.
Nice.
but like I said, I'm planning on starting another webpage, probably forgotten people in card history or something like that, to go along.
Very cool.
With
we will link
I'm
to,
doing
and we'll definitely
decks,
link to the National Card Site below.
I keep wandering away. I keep finding interesting people. So I've got like 14 stories. Yeah. I've got like 14 stories that I'm working on, and 3 of them are complete, and about a half dozen are mostly complete. But
nice.
It's kind of like Dora, you're focused on something, and then, oh, there's a shiny object. And you start following that guy. But so I need to, complete them and put them in one place, because if I keep sending them in one at a time to clear the decks, because they go over 1,000 words, and they don't like to go over 1,000 words, it'll be 4 years by the time I get to the last story right now.
Yeah.
So,
I right on.
Put them out there, and I've got a secretary that scammed USPC out of $1 million, and I've got guys that design card decks, and guys that started card companies that you've forgotten about that aren't there anymore, and things like this. So I just need to get them wrapped up and get them out there somewhere.
Nice. Yeah. Do that for sure. We'll link all that information in the description below. Yeah. And you guys, thank you so much for bringing all this new knowledge for me to us and our viewers who are want to know more about those old school decks. Yeah. Thank you very much.
That's what we try to do. Thanks for having us on.
No, it's definitely our pleasure. Anyone who's listening who wants to know more about any antique cards, Kevan and Dave are always out there to talk about this. Feel free to reach out to them and join the community. I mean, I think, Kevan mentioned it several times, 52 Plus Joker is a great community, not only for modern collectors, but for antique collectors as well. And make sure to check it out.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys again.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And again, we really do appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah. And Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. And Steve, send me your family history. I'll find it for you.
Oh, I will do that for sure. I will literally do that. I'll get your information from Kevan, and I'll send it over. You don't have to get 20,000 people on my tree. Just 10,000 would work.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, guys. We will link, like I said, in the description below to all the contact. There you go. Thank you so much, guys.
Peace.
Thank you.